Okay, today we're going to talk about the most common errors in running the 8500 model US stove pellet furnace. I've received a lot of feedback on the videos and a lot of questions. Most all the questions that are asked are covered on the videos, one of the videos or the other video. So the most common errors with this particular furnace right here in the installation category is the duct size, running the duct, the chimney liners, and the overall installation. As expressed in some of the earlier videos, it's critical that you get this installation installed according to the US stove manual. Now, the biggest problem that we have with that is the actual ductwork for the exhaust. It's clearly set out in the installation guide that you've got a maximum length that you can run that exhaust with a 3-inch duct, double wall duct. If you go over that length, you've got to go to a 4-inch duct. If you go into a chimney, it needs to be a 4-inch lined chimney. This particular furnace is draft critical. If you run your lengths on your exhaust longer than what's specified in that installation manual, you're going to have to go to the 4-inch duct. If you set it up and you dump your exhaust into a chimney that's a 6-inch or a 10-inch, a brick line, whatever it may be, chances are you're going to be creating a draft out of that chimney, and your furnace is not going to vent properly because, as you know, you have a draft fan that controls the draft on this unit. So follow the installations for the chimney, the exhaust properly, and you'll eliminate that problem right off the bat. Now, the other problem that we're having is some of you are setting up this furnace and you're not setting your C15 properly with your number 2 blower. Unfortunately, these stoves are still coming from the factory being shipped out with the default on that C15 set at an erroneous figure that will not allow your number 2 blower fan to come on as required. And therefore you end up into an over temp situation. It's necessary that you set up that C15 setting for that number 2 blower to come on at the heat range that you want it to come on. If you want your number 2 blower to kick on at the number 2 setting, set it on number 2. If you want it to come on at number 3, set it at number 3. And additionally, if you want both blowers to run non-stop, which will give you additional airflow, you can set that C15 setting on 0, and both blowers will run continuously with that setting. Now, the problem you have if you start your furnace up right out of the box and that number 2 setting is not, that C15 setting is not set properly, you're going to end up over temping your stove. And we've had a lot of guys, people saying, well, you know, my stove, I got a little hot, the door is white. If your door is white, you've over temped your furnace. Chances are, from everything that I'm seeing, if your door is white and you're having all kinds of weird problems with your stove, you've damaged some sensors within that furnace, and you are not going to be able to get the stove to operate properly. I can't stress this enough. I've seen umpteen times people trying to get their stove dialed in, and it's not happening because the stove has been over temped, more than likely right out of the box because of that default setting set wrong. And you're not going to get your stove to run properly. You need to seek help from US Stove when it gets to that particular point. Now, moving on to the next error that we're seeing is having a lot of questions about the amount of fuel that you're burning compared to your fuel setting on your number 1 and your number 5 feed rates. This stove comes from the factory, normally set up with a lot of the defaults. They're set up for burning corn, and most everybody is burning wood pellets. I burn cherry pits and wood pellets, depending on what's available. Your setting that you have out of the box when you set this stove up, your feed rate is going to be, your actual fuel burn is going to be a lot less than what you're setting for your heat temp feed rates. Now, we've got a video here that's going to be coming out shortly that is going to allow you to set your stove up to get more match the fuel rate to the heat setting rate that you have in your stove. You know, your stove's going to burn whatever it's going to burn according to your setting. A lot of you want to try to match the actual burn rate to your heat rate settings, and we're going to help you with that in an upcoming video here. Now, the second problem that we're having here, along with your feed rates that a lot of the guys are running into, is you get a blockage in your auger. And this can be wood pellets that are too long. They're over an inch and a half in length. They will jam up your auger. And the other thing is sawdust and little tiny chips get down in the bottom of your hopper. Now, this can be alleviated if you screen your pellets. I clean my hopper out once a year at the most because I screen the fuel, and there's a vacuum hooked up to the screen. We've got a little diagram in one of the videos about the pellet screener that I built, and some of the other guys have used it. They've had good luck with it. You want to get that sawdust and those little chips out of there when it gets down into your hopper. The auger doesn't want to pull that sawdust and little stuff up, and the auger just kind of swims down in the bottom. So if you're having a problem not getting the heat out of your stove and your auger seems to be working fine, you want to check the debris down in the bottom of that hopper. Now, you know, I get a lot of questions on the videos. I really appreciate your feedback on it. We've got a lot of good information. We've got a lot of number of people that are asking questions that have already been covered in the videos. You need to follow the setup procedures for this stove, the installation procedure. I know sometimes you can get into a lot of money setting up your stove, installing it, especially if you're running it out a chimney like I did. The liners are pricey, and the double wall stainless Duravent is pricey, but it's very important that you install your stove properly. The stove needs to be operated properly. You need to set your stove up properly. If you are following my videos as far as suggested settings, how to set your stove up, you will have no problems operating this stove. If you go through all of the setup procedures and your stove is not operating properly, chances are you've got a problem with the control board or the sensor. And once again, if you overtemp your stove and your door is white, you're going to have a problem. So follow the videos, the settings, the recommended procedures, and I think you'll do real well. And once again, we appreciate all feedback. Happy pellet burning.